good evening. I'm going to be going over the very brief history and geography of Bhutan. So I've had a little bit of hyperfixation on this country for the past few weeks, and I really wanted to talk about how the country is today, but I feel like I can't do that without giving some context first. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. So I'll show you in my atlas. This is the Himalayas, or just right here. So Bhutan. So the southern region of Bhutan is called the Dwars, I believe is how you pronounce it. So it's pretty relatively flat for a country located smack dab in the middle of the Himalayas. Okay, to start off with geography, this southernmost region is a flat land. It's called the Dwars. If I am pronouncing that wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm obviously no expert. So it's located in the Himalayas, as I previously mentioned. So that means the valleys their elevation is about 3,200 to 9,800 feet. And the mountains top 22,000 feet. So almost 23,000 feet. So very, very tall. The tallest mountain, if I butcher this, I'm so sorry. The Gengar Pensum. So that's 24,000 feet. 24,836 to be exact. And that name means the white peak of the three spirited brothers, and is also known as the mountain of the three siblings. So there are a bunch of rivers, as you can see, flowing all throughout Bhutan. So these create a lot of hydroelectricity, and that's a big part of Bhutan today, mostly in the urban areas, but yeah, that's where they get their energy source. It's their main source of energy. The Bhutanese, they respect the Himalayas to the highest degree. They believe it's the house of the gods, so they think that the gods live in the mountains. All right, so it's a small country, so that's pretty much it for geography. So let's get into history. So ancient history is a little, not too extensive. So we don't know much. That's kind of what's going on with ancient history. Man-made stone objects dating back to 2000 BCE have been found. It's believed that they were nomadic herders in the natural pastures. They didn't need to cut any trees or anything unless it was wintertime. In that case, they would use the trees for fire and shelter. They had what was presumed to be an animalistic religion. But other than that, we don't necessarily know much else. It hasn't, been confirmed because there's just not very much evidence. So, a large factor in history has always been Buddhism. It was first, I guess I should reword that. It first arrived in Bhutan in the 7th century BCE. Okay, here's another name that I'm a little bit worried to say. But Songtsen Gampo was a Tibetan king, as you can see. Actually, you can't really. Let me show you. Up here you can see the Bet part of Tibet, so we're bordering Tibet. So this Tibetan king built the first Buddhist temples, and to this day many of them are sites for pilgrimages. In 842 CE, there was a conflict in Tibet, and a lot of migrants came into Bhutan. They kind of fled into the country, and there was a civil war actually until the 16th century. So in the 17th century, the first political unification occurred. So this also came from Tibet, who is a big player in Bhutanese history. It was Nangwang Namgyal, I believe is how you say it, and he believed that he was a reincarnate of a previous scholar. So he gave himself the title of Shabdrung, which means at whose feet one prostrates, and he unified Bhutan basically on the basis of Buddhism. He created what's called songs, which are fortresses built around Bhutan that they were impenetrable, and so that they would retreat into them in case there was any sort of attack or anything. It was also used as religious sites and administrative places, but they were mainly built for the need to retreat. So, unfortunately, he passed away 5 years before full unification occurred in 1956. So he never got to see Bhutan fully unified, but he was heavily involved with the unification of the country. So in 1772, Bhutan invaded Cooch Behar and dethroned the king. So, as you can see, well, I guess you can't really. So this is a border with India. So a heavy influence in this area was the British East India Company. So when Bhutan invaded, they got the help, or the king who was dethroned got the help of the British East India Company, and Bhutan was expelled. So there were a few battles between the British East India Company and Bhutan, but it ended in a treaty where the Bhutanese and India would no longer try to invade. They basically had to just respect each other's boundaries, and it allowed for the British East India Company to cut lumber in Bhutan, because at the time the British East India Company was dominated world trade, so they cut lumber. There was a conflict in 1826 for about 5 months, but Bhutan was defeated, and then in 1947, India gained its independence, and so therefore Bhutan became independent. So all of this land that was taken by Britain was returned to Bhutan. So that's pretty much it for the history of Bhutan. It was not the most in-depth recap, But I just thought that I would give a little context for any future videos where I might want to talk about Bhutan. Their government today is no longer kings. It's, I believe, democratic, which happened in the 2000s, around 2008, I believe. And today they are very, I wouldn't say anti-tourism, but they're very cautious because they care a lot about the environment. They're very conservational. As you can see, all of this green area is national parks. So they care a lot about the environment. They don't like tourists coming in. They're trying to avoid tourists coming in and basically destroying the environment the way that tourists do sometimes. Not all tourists, but so they actually charge a fee, and you cannot just free travel in Bhutan. You have to book a package. So you can't just go to Bhutan and do whatever you want. You have to have a package with a tour guide. And actually, Bengal and Tibet, I believe, Tibetan tourists get in for free. So lucky them. But otherwise, if you want to go to Bhutan, it's going to cost you about $250 a day, which is pretty hefty. But I'll leave it at that. For some reason, I'm so interested in this country, excuse me. I'm so interested in this country. So we're gonna just look at a few pictures now on Google Earth and just explore so that you guys can see how beautiful it actually is. So I'll get my tablet out and then we'll do that. Okay, so this is Bhutan. Let's look at the slideshow, the main slideshow. So as you can see, it's super mountainous. And they have a lot of, if you see these steps, that's how they do their agriculture. Some rivers, then hydroelectric power. But yeah, lots of mountains. You can see Buddha here. I can't even imagine. I live in the mountains now, but nothing like the Himalayas. I can't imagine looking out your window and seeing these mountains. That's just unbelievable. So that was the very brief history and geography of Bhutan. So you can see where we are in Asia. So yeah, more videos to come since I can't stop